Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hey, Justin, how you doing, buddy?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. I'm out here in Southern California. I have very few complaints other than we can't go outside. Other than that, I'm good. How about you?
Well, I've been better, but it's also tough to complain. On the other hand, I am in Chicago, not sunny California, so while it's technically feasible to go outside, it's perhaps not as pleasant as elsewhere.
Yeah, accurate.
Yeah, it's all
So
good.
you are the founder and um, creator and owner of Few Spirits.
Yep,
Tell us a little bit about. Give us a little brief history of Few, and then let's jump into current affairs, so to speak.
sure. I mean, we're a small distillery. We're based in Evanston, Illinois, which is just immediately outside Chicago. Grain to Glass Distillery, making all of our own products ourselves in-house. Something we're pretty proud of. Been on the market now coming up on 9 years. We started in August of 11, and so almost 9 years. And in 9 years, we've been able to grow from selling across Chicago to 50 states, 35 countries. We're the number one selling craft rye in the U.S. for folks that make their own. Number two selling craft bourbon in the U.S. for folks that make their own. And have also been able to get an awful lot of critical acclaim, including some World's Best from the World Whiskeys Awards, Best in Class from San Francisco Spirits, Best in Class from ACSA, as well as a bunch of other medals here and there.
Okay.
But mostly we're having some fun.
Yeah. Nice. So it's we're in a very interesting time, I think, in all of our lives. I don't think anyone currently living has experienced something quite like this pandemic, where
Not me.
yeah, pretty much the earth is shut down, which is it's a pretty big deal. And I see a lot of people not taking it seriously, but I see even more people taking it seriously, yourselves included. Tell me a little bit about your coronavirus protocols and what you guys are doing to kind of stay safe and just keep going at the same time.
Well, I mean, the first thing we're doing to keep safe is we've shut down. We're not running, we're not operating, other than just a little bit here and there. Uh, but really, we've just shut down. Everybody's at home. We unfortunately had to furlough our hourly people. We had to lay off a brand new employee that we hired, but wasn't trained up yet. And that is terrible because she was going to be a rock star. But with an undetermined amount of time, it's tough to carry people. And we're doing our best. But we've shut down. The one little bit that we have not shut down is that we're making a little bit of ethanol so that you can provide it to two companies that make can sanitizer. We kind of take the approach that we don't really know how to make sanitizer. We're not regulated for it. We don't really know what we're doing. And so we do know what we're doing making ethanol. So that's what we've been doing and trying to do our part to help out. We're working with a company here in Chicago. They know what they're doing. They have access to the supplies. They know how to handle it. They know what they're doing. They have a distribution network. They have a vendor and supplier network, and they can get this done in a way that, frankly, we just simply can't. So we're really happy to be able to do our part and to do it in a way that is safe, responsible, and we're trying. We're all doing our best, and we're trying.
As far as the regulations go with when it comes to hand sanitizer, I know a lot of distillers, especially craft, are turning production into making ethanol or making the ingredients for sanitizer, and a lot of them are also making their own and bottling their own. Let's talk a little bit about the process, if we can, what that looks like, and a little bit about the regulations that prevented companies from doing this previously.
Well, I mean, strictly speaking, beverage alcohol and sanitizing alcohol are kind of regulated very differently. The tax regimes are separate, and there's a whole bunch of things that just really make them different. And from a consumer or an outsider point of view, it may be a little bit subtle, but when you're on the inside, the differences aren't particularly subtle. Like, for example, our federal license does not allow us to denature alcohol. Therefore, until very recently, we would be a felony that could get me thrown in jail for making hand sanitizer. Now, given the current situation, a lot of these regulations have been relaxed at the federal level, but we are regulated by the federal, we're regulated by the state, we're regulated by the city, we're regulated by the county. We have alcohol regulations, we have health and safety regulations. Um, Even if we pretend that all of those regulators all of a sudden said, yes, go forth and prosper and make sanitizer, we're also left with the fact that we don't really know how to make sanitizer. It's not something we've made before. We don't have a supply chain for it. We don't have access to the ingredients. We don't know how to package it. We don't have a distributor network set up that would enable us to go out there and distribute it. I don't know how to package it safely. I don't know how to make it safely. I don't know how to make sure that it is safe and effective for what it's intended. And we're also blessed to be living in the United States. And it is going to happen that the lawyers are going to get a hold of this, and they are in fact going to sue everybody in sight, including the people that were making sanitizer that don't perhaps know how to make sanitizer.
Sure. So it does seem like it's definitely, and I'm married to an attorney, so I totally understand the fact that someone could blame a producer for making a sanitizer that's doesn't have the efficacy needed, and then people who've used the sanitizer either got sick or got someone else sick, especially if they're a healthcare worker. So
Or even if
you
it
see
does, even
lawsuits
if it
coming
is
down.
efficacious, even if it does do it, you can't prove it because you don't have the right testing equipment, you don't have the right paperwork to fall on, and your liability insurance is not going to protect you for selling products that you didn't tell them they were making. So your insurance company is not going to defend you. And so even if you've done literally everything right, you're still going to lose because the lawyers are going to, they're going to get you.
Yeah. Yeah, lawyers are the worst.
Didn't say that. They're doing their job, but this is reality.
This is, yeah, that's true. All right, let's talk a little bit. You mentioned furloughed employees. You mentioned business operations. How long can you sustain, and how long do you think most businesses in your field, most small distilleries can stay afloat, or keep chugging along until they have to just either call it quits or shut it down or apply for massive loans, or what does the environment look like right now?
Honestly, we're probably a little differently situated than many, but it's really grisly out there. The expert in this field, the ACSA, just released a study, I think it was about a week ago now at this point, although frankly, being quarantined time has very little meaning. That said 2/3 of small distilleries were going to close in 2 months, and I think that's pretty credible. This is a very capital-intensive business where most of us are very undercapitalized. So a small hiccup can be deadly. Many people were already struggling, and so a small hiccup could be very challenging. But something like losing 40% of your business overnight because of the closure of the on-premise, it's going to be very, very challenging for many people to handle. And that's just for people on the distribution side. If you're a small distillery that gets most of your revenue from the on-premise and that goes to zero, you could be steering an awful lot of trouble. It's going to be really, really tough. And yes, people are prepared, and I don't think it's evidence for bad management or anything. Something like this is just completely unprecedented, and I don't think it's the kind of thing that anybody could rationally prepare for. Usually when people talk about their business goes down, we were down 2%, we were down 3% over last year, we're down 10%, we're up 10%. I don't think there's too many business owners that can rationally and reasonably prepare for many, many months of losing 40% of your business. And that's just from the on-prem shutting down. That's not even talking about changes in the retail purchasing that people are going through, where When you talk to retailers, their volumes are up, but their margins are down because people are only buying much more commodity products. Number one selling product in retail these days is boxed wine. You buy 3 liters of wine for $10. Okay, it flies off the shelves. That's great for the retailer because they're pushing products out the door. But maybe they don't make quite as much money on that $10 box of wine as they were making on a bottle of few spirits. So yeah, volumes are up, profits are down, and even at the retail level, that can be tough. And if our retailers aren't pushing through as many craft spirit bottles as they were, it's not just that your on-premise business went down; it's your retail business went down too.
Yeah, that's it's a hard uh, existence at the moment for restaurants.
For sure.
All across the country. I've heard experts say they would be surprised if somewhere between 25 and 50% of restaurants were able to reopen their doors. So that means somewhere between 50 and 75% won't. Um,
Correct.
it's a very, as you mentioned, not just the beverage alcohol industry, and I kind of fold everything into the hospitality industry myself. Um, Restaurants, hotels, even craft distillers, and breweries, because they all have the same, essentially same target consumer. Um, if you're not able to produce, and restaurants aren't able to sell your goods because they're closed and they're not able to pay their people, their employees, their bartenders, their wait staff, their cooks, um, what does it look like 6 months from now?
I think it's really tough. I mean, yes, there will be some on-premise that will survive. I tend to at least theoretically agree with your concept that half of them won't. Certainly the ones that survive will be much stronger and their prices will go up. They'll be full every night. If you usually be operating at 60%, now you're operating at 100. Date nights expand because you're not just going out to eat Friday, Saturday. Now the only time you can get in is on a Tuesday, so that's when you're going out is on Tuesday nights. I think the on-premise fundamentally changes because they get stronger because they're the ones that survive. Yes, that'll change, but opening a new restaurant is a major undertaking, might be an understatement. So once one restaurant closes, it's not like you can just flip a switch and another one opens up. That's months of work. It never, that's licensing and health and safety and food and this and remodeling and cleaning and setting up everything. It's a big deal when a restaurant closes. But when you lose half of all restaurants, that's really, really tough. And yeah, people are struggling and doing what they can right now with food to go and takeout cocktails and such. But that's hurting their margin too. Like if you sell a meal to go, all that margin from the 2-3 drinks that you would have sold is all gone, and maybe you didn't sell an extra appetizer, and your wait staff didn't get tipped out, and so on. And I'm hearing an awful lot of restaurateurs complain that people are tipping the Uber Eats driver 50% of the meal because they're trying to take care of the restaurant, and all that money just goes into Uber and of course Uber takes all that money, or Grubhub, and we're hearing a lot of and we're hearing an awful lot of people are dropping those services because the customers are trying to take care of the restaurant, and instead they're taking care of some Silicon Valley company.
Yeah, this pandemic is certainly exposing a lot of kinks in the system, I guess, and that's certainly one of them. People think that they're doing one thing, or they're trying to do something good by supporting a small business, but really what they're doing is funneling money around, and I get it, and that's not what this discussion is about. But yeah, that's definitely something that should be looked at a little more in depth.
It's tough out there for everybody, including Silicon Valley.
Yeah, definitely is. I'm here. I'm just on the south side of the bay, We're very close to San Jose, Santa Clara. We're kind of the epicenter of the California pandemic started. I think one of the reasons why our numbers in California are so low is that local governments here, along with the governor's office, they shut everything down as soon as they could, weeks before other places. And so while we have maybe 6, I think at the time, currently maybe 6 to almost 7,000 cases, whereas New York is 60,000 cases. So we shut everything down really quickly here. And basically they started canceling events left and right, which cost a lot of money. Almost every festival, almost every trade show, tech show, distillery event, I mean, you name it, everything was closed. And I managed to get a trip to Sonoma to visit some distillers. I know you know Timo and Ashby and some of the other distillers out in Sonoma, and I managed to get a trip in very late February to get some interviews, and we had no idea this kind of shutdown was coming, and then it hit, and suddenly this is the new reality. You and me, right, talking on online, and there's a lot of memes out there going around that this pandemic was started by Zoom and Charmin. Just it's a joke. It's obviously not meant to be serious, but a lot of people are struggling. So to that point, what do you think we should be doing as a hospitality community? What can craft distillers do? What can restaurateurs do? What can the consumer do to figure this out together? Because we're all in this shit together.
I mean, we're all in it together, and as it continues to expand, hospitality, I think, is pretty much the canary in the coal mine, because frankly, everything else is going to start collapsing around hospitality as well. But in the meantime, keep on buying and support what you believe in. If having small restaurants is important to you, or if having small breweries and small distilleries is important to you, buy their products. And yes, we are all in this for the passion. We're in this for the whiskey, and we're in this to do this, but it's also how we feed our families, and it's how we feed, it's how we keep food on the table. And if it's important to you to have these things, you have to spend the money now. I've been seeing a lot of people joking about the crickets when they look in their email boxes. For 10 years, people have been hitting me up on a daily basis asking for free booze for this fundraiser, that fundraiser, this event, and what a great cause it is. If you're one of the people that goes out and solicits donations for all your charities that are important to you, maybe now's the time to go back and remember who donated to you back in the day. Because if we don't have the ability, if we don't sell stuff, we simply can't stay in business. And I think that we are a relatively well-managed company, but nobody predicts all of your business to disappear overnight. That is a risk that is very difficult to plan for. And if you plan for that sort of a rainy day, maybe you're not taking full advantage of when the sun's shining, because you can grow an awful lot bigger if you're not trying to sock away a full year of your spend. Nobody can sock away a full year.
Yeah, who has that ability? Yeah.
Right, nobody can. It's people can't do it. Businesses can't do it either. Yes, everybody wants to have a 6-month rainy day fund, but not everybody does. No matter how many blog stories you see, hey, have a 6 months rainy day fund. We've all read those blog stories, and how many of us actually do it?
Yeah.
It's very challenging to save that kind of money and to manage a business, much less a household, in that kind of fashion. So, I mean, what can people do? And I don't mean to be mercenary, and I don't mean to be an asshole or to be, oh, hey, poor me. But if these are things you care about, buy it, because that's the only way you get to keep on having them.
The one of the big issues that is coming bless you, one of those big issues that's coming up to the top of the line these days is direct to consumer. Um, it's pretty clear that small wineries are able to, or even big wineries essentially are able to ship. They're able to market to their consumer and say, hey, free shipping. Let's get you guys some wine while you're at home. Um, how how can we change that for distilled spirits?
I'm not sure it's necessarily in the interest of distilled spirits to do that. But certainly at this point in time, it's who knows. Obviously, Kentucky just legalized it. Was it Monday? Um, you can ship to people in Kentucky now, uh, and I think a lot of people in distilled spirits look to wine and say, "Hey, look at that success! They're making all this money." But wine is an extremely fragmented business, and it's different. We, especially at Few, we operate. We love the 3-tier system. We exist because of it. We love our retail partners. We love the people out there that are spreading the word and letting consumers know about Few, and talking to people in their retail aisles about Few. And used to be people could find about it at the bar too. You'd go in, you talk to your bartender, and then say, "Hey, check this out," and then tell you the story. And the distributors are out there talking to the retailers and the bartenders and the managers and telling people, "Hey, this is the story of Few. You should get on board with it." Um, that's been the foundation of our success as a company, and I don't intend on forgetting that. These are the people that have been with us from day one, and I'm not going to forget that.
Okay. Out of curiosity, just to play devil's advocate, would business be easier if you could have the 3-tier system and still the ability to ship directly to the consumer?
I think it can be very difficult, especially at the small scale, because what distributor and retailer is going to bring you on if you could sell direct to a consumer? There's some backdoor risks there, and it also fundamentally means that you change the way you're doing business. Right now, we ship out by the pallet, and we send out 8, 10, 12, 20 pallets a week. Whereas if we had to individually package each one of those bottles and sell, $50 sales, that's a pretty different that's a pretty different business than selling it, $10,000 at a time on a pallet. It's not that one business is better or worse than the other one, but we aren't necessarily set up to have a massive shipping operation. We ship in bulk and let somebody else handle the $50 sales.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Having two divergent business models is very difficult and it's very complicated to do. So I understand. And in the wine industry's defense, it did take them a long time to get to this point. Um, so
Yep.
so okay, that makes perfect sense. What does the future look like? It's the 31st now. It's going to be April here very soon in a couple hours. What is the next 6 months? What is the next 18 months, 12 and 18 months look like for you?
I don't think anybody has any idea. Will the loosening of restrictions stay? Will it not stay? How many restaurants will survive? What retailers will survive? Um, Once people can get to-go cocktails and buy bottles from the bar, will they continue buying from retailers? What's fair there? I mean, retailers pay an awful lot of money in licensing fees to have that exclusive right to sell retail. If all of a sudden you open it up for bars and restaurants, is that fair to the retailers? And if the retailers all of a sudden start getting the opportunity to sell drinks, drinks by the glass, is that fair to restaurants? I don't think I have any answers to those questions. I'm not trying to answer it, but these are things that will have dramatic effects on the business. How many craft distillers will be left? Is it 1 in 3? Is it 2 in 3? Is it half? Um, yeah, I don't know. What does the competitive set look like in 6 months? I don't know. What's going to happen to small brands like Few when the large brands take their entire marketing budget and can spend it all in the same, in half the number of restaurants they used to have to spend it? Will a brand like mine have any access to the on-prem in such an environment? Going to be a lot tougher. And of course, that would all be illegal, and certainly no big brand would ever come in and do swipes. But if you could concentrate a swipe on half the number of restaurants as you were last year, people are, a lot of big brands would like that, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
So I think that it's really tough to predict the future, but it's going to be a very difficult, certainly a minimum of 2020, but I think it's going to be a very difficult 2020 through 23, 24, 25. There's never been a entire worldwide shutdown like this where, GDP of the planet will go down by 80%, 90% of GDP of this whole world is gone. I don't think that's ever been done before.
No, so no one saw this coming except for the pandemic people who saw it coming, and that's a very small, admittedly, that's a very small segment of the world and of the population. Now that we're here, and the future looks somewhat bleak, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, for discussion about how can we fundamentally make changes to just the average business model. Are you thinking long term as far as what changes you can make to not necessarily sock away a year's worth of expenses to take care of everything, but what fundamental changes can we make as a society on the business side to kind of keep this from being, if it ever happens again, hopefully not, but keep this from being so bad next time?
That goes way beyond my pay grade. Yeah, I'm just a humble distiller. All I do is think in long term because we make primarily whiskey. So we're effectively forced to think long term because we have to plan so many years ahead. So that's all we make our bread and butter thinking long term. But as far as how the businesses operate, I think you just kind of have to wait and see. Is it a 3-week shutdown, 8-week shutdown, 3-month shutdown? These are real things because this will exponentially grow as far as the economic devastation. We just canceled an order to one of our suppliers, and because we had to cancel that order, they had to lay off somebody else. So just in 2 weeks, it's already spread beyond on-premise to the distillers, to their vendors. They're going to cut back on their orders, and it's already going to spiral out of control. And it's not going to be very long before it moves into every area of the society to the extent that it hasn't already.
Yeah, that's true. What in Illinois, what is the quarantine shelter in place situation look like? Is it what's your timeline from
we are currently under a shelter in place until I believe April 8th. Although if I'm not mistaken, federal has taken that to April 30th. So I can't imagine that Illinois won't go to April 30th. Certainly the basic storyline has always been that the federal government has been behind and not restrictive enough. They need to do more, and they have to shut it down for longer. So it was straight incredulity for Illinois to all of a sudden go, oh, well, no, we're okay on the 8th. If anything, my guess is Illinois will say, April 30th isn't enough. But we'll see.
Yeah. How are you and your family doing? Are you guys hunkered down and playing board games, or what?
Yeah, we're hunkered down. The kids are e-learning. We're playing some board games at night, watching movies. We've taken the dogs out for walks. Our big excitement is every now and then we get to go to the grocery store, which is always very exciting because you get to leave the house, and that's the best ever.
Mm-hmm.
We've done laundry, emptied out a junk drawer.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the excitement life that we live here in distiller world too. We empty out junk drawers.
Yeah. We are, my wife is home. Um, it's interesting because I'm used to, I work from home 80% of the time, most of the time anyway. Um, and so it's interesting to see how other people react because I have a schedule. I've designed myself over the years a way to cope with being at home in front of a computer all the time,
Yep.
putting on ad blockers, putting on social media blockers so that I don't look at Facebook or Twitter or anything else, any distractions for um, for X amount of hours, 5 or 6 hours a day, whatever it is, so that I can block out my time. And it is interesting to see how other people are just struggling with
It's not easy.
what's that?
Not easy.
No, no, it's definitely not. A lot of people are worried that they're going to get to the end of Netflix. It's a legitimate concern these days with people.
Release the Tiger King.
Yeah, my wife made me watch it the other day. We binged it for a day and a half. We got through it, and I'm just like, if this is what Earth is gonna take it, take it all. And that sounds awful, but it's yeah. There's um, a lot of boredom, a lot of stuff going on. Is there anything you guys are doing fund wise? Are you guys crowdfunding a little bit? Or is there any way we can help
No,
you?
I mean, yeah, just go out and buy it. Find your local, find your favorite retailer, whether it be your local independent, whether it be Total Wine, Bevmo, Binny's, Specs, ABC, Crown, depending on where you are. Go to your favorite stores, buy from them, have it delivered, have it curbside pickup. It's this stuff matters, and when you order from that retailer, they're going to reorder from the distributor, and they're going to, the distributor then reorders from us. The wheels of commerce need to stay on, otherwise, it gets very tough. I mean, I truly think that we're definitely living in the railroad engineer, morality problem of, do you drive the train straight ahead and kill 5 people, or do you switch the train and kill 15? Um, if the wheels of the economy fall off, an awful lot of people, it's not going to be a question of, people lost their job. It's going to be people die. So if we can keep the wheels of commerce going for craft spirits and craft beer, but also entertainment outside of Netflix, donate money to theater companies, donate money to bands. Musicians are taking it in the teeth because they can't tour. Support their virtual concerts online. Donate $5 to them. Donate $10 to them. Buy a record at your local record store. These things matter. Buy gift cards. I bought a bunch of gift cards from local retailers because, frankly, there's nothing I really want right now. I don't want it. There's no record I want to buy right now, but I guarantee you I want to buy a record in the future.
Yeah.
So nothing I want right now. It's all right. I bought a gift card. Buy books. Ideally not from Amazon.
Yeah.
But buy it from Amazon. If that's what you like, buy there. Just understand who you're supporting and where the money's going.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then what does the landlord do? Because the landlord is there too. And screw the banks. Well, the banks, are banks really making that much money? I mean, they make what, 3-4%? And for 3-4%, they fuel the entire economy. Then that makes them a bad person? I don't think so. Banks aren't in the business of taking on risk. The banks are in the business of reducing friction. Banks aren't bad. Landlords.
Yeah, it's a very interesting time we're in at the moment. I don't think very many of us woke up on January 1st in 2020 and said, "Hey, this is going to be a pandemic year." I think everyone, started off their year with bright hopes, and I'm not sure what I'm not sure what everyone's situation is out there, but I can say it's pretty similar to everyone else's, which is stay home, stay in place.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. So, Paul, my friend, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Justin. Good to see you. Hopefully next time we can shake hands instead of a virtual fist bump. But
Yeah, for sure.
I hope to see you soon, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you again for coming on. And for those of you who want to support Few, where can they find you?
Oh, you can find us all over. If you're out in California, Total, Bevmo, Mr. High Times, of course, is a fantastic account. But Binny's here in Illinois, we're Pennsylvania. You know, we're 50 states. You can find us everywhere, and hopefully you'll get a chance to.
Sounds good. All right, I will throw up some social media links to Few Spirits and their website in the links below. Cheers, Paul. Stay safe. Stay home. My love to the family. We will hopefully we'll find out soon.
Be well, man.